Hey guys, welcome to SST Guru. So, as you had asked to start with geography after democratic politics, I have done as per your request and suggestion. And here is the lesson: resources and development. And I have split this lesson into two parts because it's quite lengthy. And this is the part one, and part two will follow very soon. So, let's get started. Guys, starting with the definition of resources. Resources definition should have three important keywords without which you won't get any marks. It should be technologically accessible, economically feasible, and culturally acceptable. So, did you understand anything? So, come on, let me tell you what is technologically accessible. Consider a situation in which you have bought a new land of 10 acres near your village, okay, and you have found that there are tons and tons of gold below that land. So first of all, to extract that gold and become super rich, what you need is you need a technology. You need technology to extract that gold. So it should be technologically accessible, and to have this technology, what you need is it should be economically feasible. In the sense, you need to have money to extract all this gold which is buried in your field. Okay, so that is known as economically feasible, economically affordable. Okay, and it should be culturally acceptable. Culturally acceptable in the sense, the people near your village should be accepting that, okay, let's permit this guy to have his mine here, and also we will be benefited because there will be a lot of development if a mine comes over here. Okay, so it should be culturally acceptable. And also, now I will tell you another instance in which a big mining company, which is an international company, was rejected by a gram panchayat because it was not culturally acceptable. Okay, so there is a hill, okay, in which there were a lot number of tribes, and those tribes were completely against the exploitation of resources from that hill, because they considered that hill to be god. Okay, so what happened was the Supreme Court told them, told the gram panchayat to decide. Okay, fine, the company had to now pacify the gram panchayat, and what the gram panchayat decided is, no, we respect our god and we don't want your development here. So what happened was that that company was rooted back to its own country, and that project came to a stall. So you just see the importance of culturally acceptable. This word is very important. Okay, fine, so your definition contains these three words, and anything which satisfies human needs, which is technologically accessible, economically feasible, and culturally acceptable, is termed as a resource. And now there are a lot of classification of resources as you have known, and I think all these classification can come to you in short questions, their definitions, examples, etc. So on the basis of origin, resources are classified into biotic and abiotic. Basically, biotic means life, anything which has life, and it is a resource for you, it is known as a biotic resource. Okay, so example is fisheries. You see this fisherman is fishing here, and this fish is a resource to him because it earns some money. And you see here a farmer is having so many cows, and the milk from this cow he uses it to get money. And maybe after the cows are very aged, if the law in his state permits, he may even butcher it to get some money out of its beef. So this is also a resource for him. Anything which has life is known as a biotic resource. Okay, fine. Abiotic resource. We depend a lot much on abiotic resource, and the basic example of these are rocks, metals, etc. And these do not have life. Okay, so there's a rock over here, and it can be a resource to you. Build houses with it, you can lay reinforcements along the coast along with the rocks. And you also have metals like brass, aluminium, copper, steel, bronze, which are all resources, and they are classified under abiotic resources because they do not have life. And on the basis of exhaustibility matlab, it can be exhausted. You use it indiscriminately, it will at one fine day it will not be available in the world. So renewable resources are those ones which even after you use so much, and you use it for how many so ever days, years, and generations, it won't get depleted. Example is the sun. You use this sun indiscriminately, in the sense you use it very extensively, and you use it for generations together, the sun is not going to stop. The sun is going to emit light into the earth. That means the solar energy is always available to us, and likewise the wind energy is also always available to us. Is that understood? So it is a renewable resource, and a non-renewable resource is going to get exhausted. Matlab, one fine day it will not be there. Okay, the example for this is fossil fuel, petroleum, etc. And after the industrial revolution and the technological advancements in the recent age, we are so much dependent on fossil fuels for transportation and almost our daily lives, and these are depleting very very fast, and one fine day there will be a situation in which we don't have any fossil fuels. Fine. Now coming on to the next classification. So this is classified on the basis of ownership. Okay. In the basis of ownership, we are classifying first it into an individual resource. An individual resource is the one which belongs exclusively for you. That means that resource can be accessed only by you. For example, take the example of this farmer. This land belongs to him. No one else can come and cultivate in his land unless he allows. So this is an individual resource for him. These two cows, it is an individual resource for him, and your own school bag is a resource for you. It is an individual resource for you. Okay, fine. Next, the is community resource. Okay, fine. The community resource are those which are used by a group of people who belong to the same community. For example, we can cite the example of public water resources. Okay, so you see this water pump borewell is being used by the people belonging to this community. Okay, so this is a community resource which is used by a small group of people. Now we have also national resources. National resources are those which are assets of the nation. Assets of the nation in the sense they just do not belong to any one particular area or state. It is collectively owned by the whole nation. For example, we have our national highways. No state can claim individually that this national highways are mine. We have state highways separately. So you see, these national highways are a national resource. And apart from that, we also have canals, rivers, and oceans. These are all national resources. That means it's the property of the people of India. And also we have international resources. International resources is a big thing in which a lot of questions which can be asked. So there are two things in this international resources. First, let me tell you with the geographical extent. You need to understand very clearly that only the waters beyond the exclusive economic zone is an international resource. So exclusive economic zone, what is it? So let me tell you, exclusive economic zone is the exclusive right of a country to exploit the resources which fall between these two lines. That means the coast of the country. This is the coast of the country, and this is 200 nautical miles from the coast of the country. In this area, if India wants to exploit the resources, it can very well do it. It does not need any international permission from any organization, and beyond that 200 nautical miles, and we need the permission of international institutions. So first I told you about the geographical extent, what or where is the international resources located. Okay, and now let me tell you how to exploit international resources. To exploit international resources, you need permission from international institutions. Okay, international institutions are like UN. Okay, so what they do is they have a set of framework for this, in which they say what are the rules and regulations in order for you to exploit this resource. Okay, so these are the basic two facts which you need to be knowing about international resources. And now, basis of status. Okay, on the basis of status, we classify it first into potential resource. A potential resource is something which is not used abundantly, like wind energy, solar energy, etc. Okay, you have found that in your field has so much tons of gold, but you are not using it because you say that you can use it at a later stage when you are really in need of some money. Okay, so that is a very basic example. Please don't write that in exam. What you should write is you should write about wind energy, solar energy, etc. You see, places like Gujarat and Rajasthan are really very barren. That means they do not have much of trees, so naturally there is so much of wind which are blowing over there. So what we can do is we are not fully exploiting the resources, the wind energy in Gujarat and Rajasthan. So it is a potential energy. We can do it at a later stage. Likewise, solar energy. Each and every house in India can have a solar panel because India is located in the tropical zone. It receives abundant sunlight. Each and every house can have it, but we do not have it, and hence it is a potential resource. And coming on to the second thing, it is known as developed resource. Developed resource are those which are already being put in use. Okay, example, mining, natural gas, etc., which we have already been using. For example, you can see the Bombay High, or the which are mines which extract coal in Orissa, Chhattisgarh, etc. And in Tamil Nadu, you have lignite corporation, that is the Neyveli lignite corporation, exploiting the natural resource of lignite, which is a form of coal. And what you have is the next, stock. A stock is the one in which you have found that you have that resource, but you do not have the technology to access it. How bad is it not? So many areas are, they have water scarcity. Okay, what is the formula of water? It is H2O. Fine, you just need hydrogen and oxygen combine them, you will get water. You have so much of hydrogen and oxygen in the atmosphere. Why don't you combine these two, which are also available in those water scarcity areas? We don't have the technology to combine H2 and O to get water. So that is the reason why some regions are still in lack of water. And now this is the third one. Now coming on to the fourth reason, we have reserves. Reserves are a subset of stock. Okay, so we know how to access it. Okay, but this is not being used because it is reserved for the future. Okay, so you have the resource, but you also know how to use it, but you reserve it for the future. Fine, this is known as reserved. And now, development of resources. Human being is indiscriminately using the resources. Okay, from the day we had our industrial revolution, we started using resources indiscriminately to improve our economic situation. What has this led to? It has led to the depletion of resources, and it has also led to the accumulation of resources in a few hands. That means very few countries are very rich, and you see there is a vast difference. Few countries are so rich and few countries are so poor, and countries like us, we live in the middle. Okay, so there is accumulation of resources in very few hands, and also there is an indiscriminate exploitation of resources. Exploitation of resources is not economically sorry, exploitation of resources is not being environmentally feasible. In the sense, you cut all these forests to exploit the resources, but where will the birds, animals which stayed here go? They will also eventually die. And ultimately you see this greedy man here, he has a suitcase full of money, and all these resources which the animals like tiger and birds, they're all gone, they're all getting extinct because of this greedy man. So we need to have equitable distribution of resources. Okay, equitable distribution leads to global peace. What is the problem? Why this disparity exists between these countries is the resources are not equitably distributed. Okay, so depletion of resources by a few will put the earth to a danger. Okay, so resource planning is essential for sustainable existence of all form of life. So sustainable development, sustainable existence, this is one of the favorite questions of the teachers. Okay, so sustainable development, you should know two keywords here. It should take place without damaging the environment. That means you need to have development and it should take place without damaging the environment. Okay, and not just that, it should not compromise on the future generation. You have found a method to exploit all the oil without damaging the environment, but what if you extract all the oil resources and earth is left without any oil? That means our future generation will be deprived of the oil resources. And so you should not compromise on the future generation. So this is known as sustainable development, and this image is a really good image in which you have a global peace between all the religions, countries, and this can happen only when there is sustainable development. And now coming on to the Rio de Janeiro Earth Summit. So this much problem had existed right from the Industrial Revolution, when the problem of environmental damage accelerated. Okay, and what happened is only in 1992 the world converged in a place called Rio de Janeiro. Okay, this place is in Brazil, and the leaders of more than 100 countries came there to talk about how to develop Earth into a sustainable place. That is, how to develop Earth without compromising on the resources for our future generation. So it basically deals with two things: one is environment and one is socio-economic development. What people do is they just write environment because the Earth Summit is almost the Earth Summit is almost related to environment, and they forget the word socio-economic development. So you should also understand that, you should also remember that it also deals with social and economic development, and this has led to Agenda 21. So what is the speciality of this number 21? It just means 21st century. 21st century is 2000. Okay, the years after 25 or 2000 is known as the 21st century, and you see they conducted this in 1992. So they were far sighted, and they laid the roadmap of how do we control our environmental damage in the year 1992 itself. So, what is Agenda 21? So, this is also one of the good questions which can be asked from this lesson. Agenda 21 actually balances the environment and the economic development. Okay, so that is the significance of this image. Okay, see, it is Agenda 21, and this is the Earth, and Earth is to be balanced between the environmental resources and the economic development, which is your houses, companies, etc. Okay, and this is the basic reason why Agenda 21 was coming in. This is the motto of Agenda 21. And the other thing is, it is non-binding, in the sense, if a country is not following Agenda 21, then it is not going to be punished. Okay, and it is just a voluntarily implemented action plan. That means if you are interested, then you can implement it. It is not necessary that you should compulsorily implement it. Okay, fine. And needless to say, it is a product of the Earth Summit. At the end of the Earth Summit, we had this Agenda 21 coming up, and it focuses basically on three things. One on environmental damage, okay, and the second one is on poverty, and the third one is on disease elimination. So how do we do this? Is it through international cooperation. So in the areas of disease and poverty elevation, see, we are all people belonging to one big Earth. Okay, Earth belongs to us. So some developed country finds a good medicine for a disease. It is it not the responsibility for it to share with poor countries also? So it actually laid down the basis for disease elimination, poverty elevation, and to combat environmental damage. And now resource planning, it is a widely accepted strategy for judicious use of resources. Why do you need to use judicious why do you need to use resources judiciously? Is because you just write, if this is the question, why do we need to use the resources judiciously, you write the answer for what is sustainable development. Okay, that will come for this, because we need resources for our future generation. That's it. And now there is an unequal distribution of resources. Now I'm going to tell you a big success story of Japan. So you know, Japan, it is located in the Pacific Ocean, and it is a very small country which also faced the nuclear bomb from by the US. Okay, in the Second World War. So what happened is, it did not have any resource. Okay, so Japan, what the only resource which had, it's human resource. Fine. So with this human resource, I'll tell you what Japan did. Japan does not have much of iron ore resources. Okay, so Japan does not have iron, yet it is one of the largest exporters of iron. How come it be like Japan does not have any resources for iron, and yet it exports a lot of iron? What it does is, it buys the crude iron or the iron ore from countries which do not have the technology to extract iron. That is, it imports a lot of iron ore, refines it and makes it into iron and exports. And with this exchange, Japan earns so much that it is one of the top five in iron exports. So you see, this is the brain of Japanese people. Okay, so we also need to develop something in lines with this. Though we do not have the resources, we need to be the exporter, so that will be very much economically feasible, and that will help us a lot, because we do this without damaging our own country's environment. Okay, and we have the word here, self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency basically means that you satisfy your own needs. You do not depend on anyone for being you do not depend on anyone for your needs. It is known as self-sufficiency. Okay, and I don't think any country can be self-sufficient unless it is as big as India. Think of a very small country. Any small country, it cannot have all the resources which it needs. It needs to import anything, something from other countries, so that you have a balance. Okay, so inside India, we see that self-sufficiency does not exist. There is an inequality in the resources which are distributed. You see, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh, okay, they are very rich in minerals. They have many types of mineral resources. They have iron, aluminium, coal and etc. And whereas they do not have water. You see, very pitiable state, is it not? They have mineral resources, but they do not have water resources. And there is a stark contrast with this. We have Arunachal Pradesh. Arunachal Pradesh is such abundantly blessed with water. Brahmaputra flows through it, and we have so much of water there, but you do not have infrastructure development there. So you see, there is an inequality in distribution of resources. So now, what do we need to do in order to eliminate this inequality? Is that we need to have resource planning. In the sense, India needs to plan how it uses its resources. It consists of three steps, and this is quite important. The first step is identification and estimation of the resources. Coming back to the gold example, you need to identify whether gold is there in your land, and the second thing is you need to estimate how much gold is there in your land. Okay, what is the use of exploiting your land if it has just 1 kg or 10 kg of gold? You need to have abundant resources, abundant amount of gold in order to exploit it. So identification and estimation of resources, so this is the first step. Okay, and the second step is evolving a planning structure with appropriate technology to encounter or obtain the resource. So this is the second word which came in the definition of resources. You need to have appropriate technology to encounter or obtain the resource. Okay, you have a structure in which you exploit the resource with the technology. Fine. And the third point is you need to match the resources development plan with the overall national development plan. So this is what I was saying, that exists an inequality within India, and to compromise this, we need to exploit resources which falls in line with the overall national development plan. In the sense, we have resources in Orissa, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, and say we have resources in 10 different states for, let us say, iron. Okay, so at present our requirement for iron is just let us say X, and this X can be satisfied with the state Madhya Pradesh itself. Then there is no use for there is no need at present to exploit it from any other state. Okay, so that is the national development plan. People in Delhi, they sit and evolve this plan. They determine what resources need to be exploited and how much they need to be exploited. Fine, that is the national development plan. And now the availability of resources is a necessary condition for development of any region. So you see, only when you have some resource you can develop that region. For Japan, you see, they did not have any resource, any physical resource much, but what they had is their human resource. And we also have this in abundance. If Japan did not have any human resource, then it would not developed. So you need to have resource, and it is a very much necessary condition for development of any region in this world. Okay, and there are also regions in which resources are rich but economically backward. You can take the example of some states like Orissa, Chhattisgarh, and they are very much blessed with resources, but they are economically backward. Of course, they are also affected by the problem of Naxalites. And we also, the second group of thing is we have resources are poor, but they are economically forward. The best example which anyone can say is Japan. Okay, Japan. Fine, they do not have any resource, but they are economically so much forward. And the next thing is many foreign invaders and colonization were attracted to India only because of its resources. And as at this point I told you before itself, the colonization occurred only because we had abundant resources in India, and also foreign invaders were so much found after Indian gold, and that is the reason why they came and invaded India. And conservation of resources, the conservation of resources is extremely important to be in track with sustainable development. Of course, resources are vital for the development of any economy, and irrational use of resource will lead to socio-economic problems, as we had seen earlier. And this is one of the favorite statements of mine. It is that is enough for everyone's need, but not for anyone's greed. This was said by the father of the nation, Bapuji. And I think you should also quote this in your examination, and your teacher will be really happy to see this statement. With this, we come to the end of the first part of the geography first lesson, and the next video will be on resources and development part 2. And with that, I will complete the lesson of geography. And you can always follow me in facebook.com/SST Guru. I have a page there named SST Guru, and you can get the PPTs, notes, etc. at facebook.com/groups/SST Guru. I upload the PPTs, notes, etc. here, and you can. I want you to like, share, and subscribe to the video so that my pupil base increases. So you need to help the needy people. Not everyone can afford tuitions. So if you have any doubts, suggestions, or requests, please do let me know at the comment section of YouTube below. YouTube video below this, and you can also ask me your doubts on Facebook. So guys, this is Sricharan helping you in your success. Have a good day.